Hello, lads and lasses of the pipe smokers of Ireland community. This is the Pipepastor coming to you with his weekly resident video on this Monday. Let's see, the date will be 25th. It's January 25th, 2016. I think this is my second or third video of this year. Who knows? Smoking a Mark Balkovic specially custom-made pipe. I love this pipe. It kind of reminds me of it's like a slug, kind of a nasty crawling slug. Nice little rustication going on, and I like it. I'm smoking some Black Gold Plus from HighlandCigars.com, and wearing a shirt that I have from Highlands, and wearing a new bracelet that Kara Thompson sent me, our illustrious leader, in the mail, along with a little medal. Really like it, but I didn't want it. It was his. They don't make them anymore, and Kerr is a man of his word, and I don't know. He promised to get me one or something, and they didn't make him anymore. And he felt bound by his promise, and I said, "Don't you dare!" And he did. So I got a contract out on him. I'm sending some Sicilians up to Ireland. Take care of Kerr for me. Kerr's all right, and I appreciate the sentiment, brother. I love it. I appreciate it, along with the rosaries that you got me. Next time, send me one of your pipes, your unrequited pipes. I ought to send him one. That's what I should do. But anyway, it's a great day out here in Fresno, California. It's been raining off and on, and we've been in a drought for many, many years, so we sure need the rain. But today, the sun's broke through the clouds a little bit, so a little taste of Ireland is visiting us here in Fresno. How is it over there where you guys are? So, in any case, there was a brother in the pipe smoke community last week talking about lighters, and what lighter is our favorite, or what pipe lighter would we recommend people getting. Well, I'll tell you, this is my favorite. This is made by Shikar or Zykar, and it's a pen lighter. It's in the closed position. You can wear it like a pen. Open it up that way, and you light it this way. And notice the flame comes right straight out. Your fingers are nowhere near it. Goes right into your bowl. It kind of saves the top of it. If you have a rusticated like this, and you tend to char it. So that's my favorite. Nice pipe lighter right there. Really nice. My favorite. My favorite tamping tool. All-time favorite. Right there. So there you have it. My secret. Well, for those of you that are in Europe, Ireland, England, Australia, over here in America, it's a circus. It's coming up on election year, and so all the clowns come out, and the circus is in town. And I've been alive long enough to see it's never changed. It never changes. I don't know how it ever will change. And so, interestingly enough, in our book club, in which we've been discussing what I believe if there was ever a book in the Bible that pipe smokers around the world would love, and hobbits as well, it would be the book of Ecclesiastes, which basically is a book that is talking about how to have a happy life. It's talking about the meaning of life. It's the one book in the Bible that probably asks all kinds of questions that people in Bible studies would prefer not to even be asked. And you need to know what you're doing if you're going to read the book of Ecclesiastes, because Solomon sometimes talks from the point of an argument that would be pessimistic existentialism, or humanism, or atheism. And he'll ask a question from that point of view, and he'll answer from that point of view, sounding like that's the answer that he believes in and is given, and it's not. And then he'll go on and then answer it from a theistic point of view or a biblical worldview. And so you really have to know what you're doing to navigate through it. We talked at length about chapter 4 the last two times, in which Solomon was dealing with relationship and friendship, recreation and leisure. Then chapter 4 got real heavy into God talk, and I know a lot of you that are tuning in are not Christians or not theists. Some of you don't believe, and I didn't want this to be a Bible study, and I know a couple of times it basically has been, and I don't want it to be. It wasn't intended to be that, and I don't want to abuse those of you watching it and make you feel like I'm trying to preach at you. I have preached at you, and I warned you, I'm a pastor, so it leaks occasionally. But I avoided the rest of chapter 4 for that purpose, and I just wanted to keep it on a certain level for discussion. Not completely eliminating God talk, but just trying not to be gratuitous if I can. And so we're going on to chapter 5 now. In chapter 5, lo and behold, deals with political cynicism. I'm not a champion of cynicism. I don't particularly like being around cynical people. I don't like being around sarcastic people or mocking people. And I try real hard not to be cynical myself. Most of the time, I win that battle. Excuse me. But when it comes to politics, not so much. And I'm happy to say that my political cynicism, and maybe your political cynicism, is in good company, because the smartest man who ever lived, who happened to be the top dog politician, was also cynical when it came to politicians. And I go down all the way to verse 8 in chapter 5 of Ecclesiastes. And this is how it reads. Verse 8 and 9. If you see the poor oppressed in a district, and justice and rights are denied, do not be surprised at such things. For one official is eyed by a higher one, and over them both are others higher still. For one official is eyed by a higher one, and over them both are others higher still, basically saying that are eyeing them. Now, what Solomon is saying here is something anybody my age should know. Probably anybody over 30 should know, and that's that there's a principle that has never changed throughout history, or at least the history of mankind, and it's something that Lord Acton once said in summary. He said, power corrupts. Edward Abbey said it best when he said, power is always dangerous. Power attracts the worst and corrupts the best. Power attracts the worst and corrupts the best. Basically, the biblical worldview suggests, outright says, that politicians will always end up oppressing their constituents. And they'll do it to please the special interest groups who funded their campaign with money and the promise of financial favors after they got out of office. So those that fund them, and then while they're in office, those who promise financial favors after they get out of office, are two forces that are at work that corrupt every politician. And if you still believe that there can be such a thing as an honest professional politician, I don't know, you're either stupid or naive. By the way, I'm defining cynicism in the classic definition of an inclination to believe that people are motivated purely by self-interest. I don't believe all people are. I do believe we have a selfish gene, but I know that every politician is like that. Politicians have to be, or basically they are beholden to the moneyed people who finance their campaigns. They do not receive that subsidy for free. People want something in return. There had to be some kind of bargain with the devil for the politician to get those funds. And every politician that emerges victorious after an election has therefore come into office compromised by those who gave money to their campaign. Think about it. And a lot of those politicians, if they were rich, took a pay cut when they entered political office. And one day, they're going to be out of office. And they're going to be back into the marketplace. So while they're in office, they're going to be obligated to use their office to help their allies, the financial supporters and constituents who subsidized their campaign, who gave money to their campaign, gave money to their pet issues when they're in office, etc., etc. And these people will increase their money so that the politician has a good job in the marketplace when they get out. This is at its best. At its worst, politicians can be bought by being bribed. And bribery is no surprise to those that have studied the history of politics in America. In fact, Gore Vidal once said that the American form of democracy is bribery on the highest scale. And there can be no justice, no government of the people, for the people, by the people, as long as our current political system permits bribery in any form. So don't be surprised like something out of the ordinary has happened when you see the poor in this country oppressed, certain neighborhoods in this country, in its cities, even whole districts oppressed, justice and rights denied, etc. I dealt with this at length years ago when I preached a sermon called Feed the Pig. It's my belief that the American form of government, the crooked American form of government, is hopelessly stuck right now in gridlock, that nothing is really getting done. Congress is constipated, the Senate is cynical, our representatives are reprehensible, our courts corrupted because everybody's on the dole. Every politician is owned by somebody or becomes owned by somebody before they leave office. Romans 13 in the Bible is clear that the authority of civil government is a given gift from God and to be used to bless and benefit the people and ultimately to bring glory to God. The problem in a nutshell is that human beings are sinners. Our founders knew it. And that's why they brought about 3 branches of government to keep a form of check and balance in place. Because they understood that man is fundamentally a sinner, and sinners are attracted to office and therefore have to be held in check. They had to be accountable. When a sinner comes to political power, he or she will inevitably use their power and their money to benefit themselves rather than anybody else. And if you're looking for change in the world, and if you're looking at reform in this economy and the quality of life in this nation's citizenry, if you're looking for things to get better in order to be happy and be able to enjoy your life, to eat and drink and work with joy in your heart, then it ain't going to happen anytime soon, man. What do I know? I'm not real smart, but Solomon is. I think the only solution to what's wrong with American form of government is a revolution by a united people seeking social justice in the land, who are so fed up with the government and its oppression and its taxation and its cronyism that they rebel against the government en masse and force all the politicians out of office with the threat of tar and feathering them if they don't leave town. Every single one of them, in all 3 branches. Because they all have their hands in each other's pockets, man. And this has been going on for a long time. And the wisest man who ever lived is telling you this should not be a surprise to you. You know, as a theologian and a pastor, I got to say this: unless or until God changes human hearts, all you're going to do is rotate sinners through seats of authority and power that they at some time or other, either before or during or after their political career, will have to prostitute themselves to pass bills, change legislature, or just keep their office. And Jesus knew this. At the height of Christ's popularity, it happened when he changed 5 loaves and 2 fish into so much food to feed 10,000 people. Probably more than that if you count the kids, the women. 5 loaves, 2 fish, a kid's lunch basically. And he fed 10,000 people, and people, those 10,000 people said, this guy, he needs to be king. Because look at all the free food we'll get. And so, basically, they thought that Jesus would make a great politician. And so they thronged him, and they were going to take him by force and make him king. And John 6:15 has this recorded, and this is what the narrative says. It says, Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. Find me a politician that has ever done that. You say, we need some politicians like Jesus. Well, they'd never get voted into office, would they? But Machiavelli, not Jesus, is the politician, followed by those who enter into American politics. And true to Machiavelli, they will have to had learned to make tit-for-tat promises, compromises, and sell their soul to the devil as they make Faustian covenants with the devil to pass a single piece of irrelevant legislature. Real, authentic change won't ever come until each man's heart is transformed by the regenerating power of the gospel of Jesus Christ, voter and politician. And that real change probably won't ever happen because people en masse won't ever do that. So don't be surprised when crooked politicians do crooked things in order to get rich. Let me give you three quotes from three great statesmen of America's past. John Adams said this: "We have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, that's greed, ambition, revenge, gallantry, would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whole goes through a net." I'm sorry. Let me read that again. Avarice, ambition, revenge, or gallantry, where's my glasses, would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whale goes through a net. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to govern any other kind of people. Let me read that part again. Our Constitution, the American Constitution, was made only for a moral and a religious people. It is wholly inadequate to govern any other. And then Benjamin Franklin said, "Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote." Here's one more for you. Good old Abe Lincoln. He said, "I see in the near future a crisis approaching that unnerves me and causes me to tremble for the safety of my country. Corporations have been enthroned and an era of corruption in high places will follow, and the money power of the country will endeavor to prolong its reign by working upon the prejudices of the people until all wealth is aggregated in a few hands and the republic destroyed." So even these men portended a negative future for this country. Solomon wrote another book called Proverbs when he was younger. And I think it would behoove today's politicians and puppet masters to heed the words of Solomon in Proverbs chapter 22, and 23, where speaking to them, he says, "Do not exploit the poor because they're poor, and do not crush the needy in court, for the Lord will take up their cause and will plunder those who plunder them." And let's not forget the worst culprit is usually the top dog. In verse 9 of Ecclesiastes 5 is very difficult to translate, but the best translation goes like this: the increase from the land is taken by all, and the king himself profits from the fields. In the New Living Translation, it says, even the king milks the land for his own profit. So if you're a Christian with biblical worldview, when it comes to politics, you cannot help but be cynical. Something to think about. This is the Pipepastor coming to you once again. Appreciate your comments. Sludge ya.